Hi everybody. I'm absolutely excited, super pumped up about this Facebook live interview. Stephanie McCullough is with us. We will be giving you some insights and information about entrepreneurship and specifically women entrepreneurs. As I mentioned in my in the previous interviews, my husband and I, we have been home-based business owners for quite a long time. When we started the business, we didn't have to invest a lot of money, which anyway we didn't have at that time. But we wanted to do something from home, and we were able to take it off and run with it. During the course of time, many women were interested in starting something, but I was only able to guide them based on what I am doing. So what I thought was, to introduce all of you to other business owners in the area so that they will be able to give their insights, okay? So Stephanie has been in the financial world for about 20 years now, and she has been on her own for quite some time. So I'm going to let her share her thoughts. I know she's going to add a lot of value to our this few minutes that you all are investing in this. Okay, Stephanie, thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting me, Priya. I'm excited.
Awesome. So, I'm here in her beautiful office. She has beautiful artwork and all, which I'm going to show you guys, with nice sayings. I'm all about women entrepreneurship, right? So, all that I'm going to show. So, where do we start? We will be looking at our notes as well, okay? We are very well prepared. So, Stephanie, would you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what you did before you started the business, why you started your own business?
Sure. Whenever people ask me this, I'm afraid I go on and on and on, because it's always interesting. When you talk to young people, it's so hard for them to see forward. But when you look back, even the different kind of disparate pieces of your life that seemed to have nothing to do with what you're doing now, you can see the connections.
Exactly.
So about 20 years ago, my husband and I were living in Washington, D.C., and I was working for the federal government, the U.S. Department of Commerce, right down by the White House.
Nice.
And my husband was an architect, and we were thinking about maybe starting a family. And we thought, oh gosh, if we have kids, it might be nice to be near the grandparents. And we both grew up in this area, and our parents all four of them still live in this area, so we thought, maybe we could move back to the Philadelphia area. And the next day, it felt like the next day looking back, he got a job offer in Philadelphia. So we thought, ooh, the universe is agreeing with this plan, right? But then I thought, what am I going to do back in Philadelphia? What could my job be? So growing up, my father was a financial advisor, investment guy, and life insurance guy. And I grew up never, ever wanting to do what he did. Had no interest, thought it was boring. I didn't get it at all. But when I was working down in Washington, I was following the telecommunications industry, and that was when they were building out all the cellular networks, and there was two-way paging, remember that way back when? And lots of companies were stealing engineers from each other, because there were only so many engineers in the world who knew how to build a cellular network effectively. And they were stealing each other back and forth, and my dad had done a lot of stuff with programs to incent and retain your key people.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, okay, I kind of see the connection now. So I made this big proposal to my father that I would join his business and try to sell the things that he did to my telecommunications contacts.
Nice. Okay.
And I'm sure inside he was like, yay, one of my kids is interested in my business. And I never really did the selling stuff to my telecommunications people. But it was a nice way to come into this industry, because he had a lot of retirement plans and company plans. So I didn't have to do that thing where you get on the phone and call everybody you ever knew and try to sell them things.
Calls, yeah.
That I would not be good at that. But I could go to the different companies where we had a plan and explain it to people, listen to their situation, and try to give them good, constructive advice. So I did that for quite a while, and I got to be in charge of a large hospital in the area. We did their retirement plan for everybody in the hospital. And in the hospital, as you can, it kind of makes sense when you think about it, like 82% of the employees were women, right? Because there was a few in the executives, and so definitely some doctors, but then most of the nurses, a lot of the support people, right? Women. So I had so many conversations with women around money and investing and saving for retirement, and I found a lot of women were intimidated by the whole topic.
Yep.
A lot of women had outsourced that function to someone else in their life, usually a man, father, husband, brother, cousin-in-law, didn't matter, someone. Because I really feel like we get this cultural message that we're not supposed to be good at this stuff, which is BS, let me just say. But so that was, kind of shuffling around in my mind that, there's so many women that really could use some different type of advice or consulting or, a different approach to talking about these things. That was bouncing around in my head. And then, so it was about 6 years ago that I finally decided I had all these kind of documents where I would sit up late at night and say, if I had my own business, I would do this, that, and the other thing, and I would focus on this. And so then I finally did it around, I guess it was 2011. I put out my own name as Sofia Financial, and I decided I'm going to help professional women, really kind of Gen X and baby boomers, people our age and kind of up to the retirement age. Really, to me, the most important part is that money is a tool. It's just this thing, right? We infuse it with a lot of value and a lot of emotion, and there's all these cultural kind of hang-ups about money, but it's just a tool. So in order to figure out what to do with it, we have to figure out what's important in your life and what you're trying to create and who's important to you and what makes you happy and what stresses you out. And then we can make wise money decisions with what to do with your cash flow and your investments and your debt and whatever else you've got going on. So that's kind of the approach that I really wanted to take with my clients.
Very nice.
See, long answer.
No, you know what? I'm thinking I should have had a pen in my hand. She threw in so many nuggets right now, Women and finances, that's a big topic. I remember meeting her and she said, there is always this hesitation, that anxiety or fear in women's mind about finances and money, what is going to happen, So just be out there and meet people so you will know, where we are. And that's how I got my confidence, thanks to my husband who encouraged me a lot. And throughout I think we should do a replay of this whenever you are able to watch. I think we will gain a lot of understanding from what Stephanie is saying, okay? So, so when you first started, did you start as a job, like working for your father, and then you went on your own, right?
Yes,
okay,
yes. So there was a transition.
Okay.
And it wasn't a clean break. For a while, I kind of had a foot in both camps.
Yeah.
And I still have a little connection. I'm housed here in this office, which is my father's company. So I'm still connected, which has been nice. But moving more and more to really, being completely independent.
Exactly. See, I am all for it, So if you are already working in a job, just keep doing. That's what I do. Even now, when we get some projects and we do our jobs and all that, and then build something on your own also. Just make sure. Otherwise, we will be building somebody else's empire. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
And I think a key point for women, something that trips women up a lot, is this idea that we have to know everything before we start. We have to know all the answers. And I find that with the money stuff too. My big motto is you don't have to have all the answers. You have to know the questions to ask and have the courage to actually ask them. And that's the key. That's all I do with my clients is ask the right questions, right? And then together we come up with the right plan. But when you're thinking about starting some type of business, find something you're interested in, ask a lot of questions. I think this is a great series that you're doing. You're asking questions of people, learning more yourself, learning more for your audience.
Exactly.
There was a study a while back, and I think a lot of people have heard about it, but it showed that if there is a job opening and they list 10 qualifications, a woman will not apply for that job unless she meets all 10. Whereas a man, if he meets 4 of them, he's like, I got this. And he applies for the job. Whereas, usually a job description is kind of a wish list, right? They'd be over the moon if they found somebody with all 10. But if you have 7 or 6.5, right, you're probably in good shape. So we stop ourselves a lot when we don't need to.
So don't be a perfectionist. Let me tell you the example of this, the FB Live. To this, even now, this is my 3rd or 4th time I'm using FB Live. Even now we were discussing, how does this thing work again? Where do we put it again? No, let's just do it, what's going to happen? Nothing's going to explode, right? So just jump right at it, okay? Ask the right questions and just jump, okay? Everything will work out fine. So I think you kind of already told that, but you can allude to that again, like what keeps you motivated and focused on your business? Because we have a lot to handle, right? Family, everything.
Yeah. When I first came back to work after having my kids, I really felt like I needed something that I felt passionately about to feel okay leaving them. Although half of me was like, oh, thank goodness, somebody who knows what they're doing is going to look after my children because I know nothing. And, I was kind of had that dual feeling about it. I cried all the way to work, and I was like, oh my goodness, she's in good hands now. But I really, if it was something like trying to sell more toothpaste, I don't know that I would have been as motivated. But helping people get their money in line with their values has such an impact on their lives, right? If I can free up someone's areas of money stress so they can feel comfortable there and then go out and do the fabulous things they're doing in their world with their families, with their communities, there are statistics that show, and really this kind of comes from a charitable standpoint, right? People looking at development aid around the world. If you help a woman be more financially secure, there are more ripple effects, because then she sends her kids to school, and then the family is more secure, and then her community is more secure because she sees her wealth as a tool for doing those things. And some of these studies show if you help a man be more financially secure, they're not necessarily, and I hate to generalize too much, but they're not necessarily going to do those things, right? They might buy a motorcycle or go spend some at the bar. I don't know. But I really do feel that in my work with women. They come to me with such stress and anxiety, and when we can put those things to rest, then, and they know someone's looking after it, then they go off and they do fabulous things. So I feel like I'm helping the world in that way.
That's awesome. See, that's cool. Actually, the first time we met was in a networking group called Women's Power Networking. That's where I met many women entrepreneurs. Okay, I learned a lot there. So would you encourage women to be entrepreneurs and have multiple sources of income? Sometimes we just go out there and get a job, which is good.
Yes.
But after that, should there be multiple sources of income?
Totally. I mean, as a financial planner, right, that's what I do. I plug all the numbers into my financial planning software. That's one small piece of it, right? We do a lot. But at a certain point, we plug everything in and we do the financial projections. And if you've only ever worked at a job, when you retire, the income stops, and then you have to turn on other sources of income to live on, right? So you have Social Security, we hope sticks around the way it is. And then what? Most people don't have a pension plan anymore. So then you have your money in your 401k or your IRA or your investments or whatever, and you have to use that to supplement your Social Security to live on. Social Security was never intended to be the sole source of living expenses. When Social Security was started, the average life expectancy was lower than the full retirement age for Social Security. Right? So we know it's kind of on a creaky legs, this system. So if there's a way you can diversify your sources of income and have some that potentially last into retirement when you hang it up from your job, I have many people, friends, clients, who would love to say goodbye to their day job. And so they're building up other potential ways, or, even to slow down into retirement, go from working 40 or 50 hours a week to working 20 or 30, but still not take that financial hit. The earlier you can think about those things, the better off you are.
Exactly, I agree. So even for us, the business is not like a job income, like my business. It's not coming like every hour you get paid this much, but we are building an asset, like what Stephanie is saying. It's going to give us income when we, not even retirement, they're like an asset, it's going to constantly keep on giving income. So just look into other sources of income, multiple sources of income. I think both men and women, everybody should be looking for multiple sources of income.
The other great thing for a woman, and especially a mother, as an entrepreneur, is you can control your schedule. I have a woman who works with me. Back when we were doing the hospital, right? People work in a hospital 24/7, and she had young kids and was tired of working, 8 to 5 at a desk. She lived near the hospital. She would meet people at 7 a.m. and then go home and get her kids up and get them off to where they needed to be, or she'd meet people in the evening. If I want to go see my son's lacrosse game, or I want to skip and volunteer at school one day, or do a chaperone a field trip, I can do it. Because I set my schedule. I might be working at 11:30 the next night, but that's okay. So that control over your own schedule is big.
Exactly. I know I took my daughter Isha with me for many of the appointments. Even Stephanie has seen her. So just Stephanie was telling in one of the previous questions, just don't think too much, just jump into it and ask a lot of questions and expand your horizon, okay? So what are the, next question, what are the top 3 tips you can give to women who want to start a business?
Yeah, so I listen to a lot of kind of, thinkers about business, and I follow podcasts and all of this. And so this is not an original tip, but I've kind of grasped onto it. It gets back to your idea of the perfectionism, right? I think women are people pleasers, and we've been brought up to not offend anyone. We want to make sure everyone's okay. But when you're putting yourself out there in business, I think the key message is that you don't have to find everybody who likes you. Not everyone has to be excited about what you're doing. You just have to find a small percentage, right? There's 350 million people in the country. If you find 1% is excited about you, awesome. 1/10 of 1%, right? That's all you need. So I think that gives us permission to be more authentically ourselves, to really, put your personality out there, and your people will find you, especially with the internet and the way we're not limited to just the people who live in our geographic area. So be yourself. I also went to a blogging conference last year, and the big message I took away from that was your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So like just be you, and the people find you.
Exactly. You keep that in your mind. I totally agree. This has been brewing in my mind. I told Stephanie, I have many things going on. 2-3 years ago, I told her, see, your vibe attracts your tribe. So what you think, you will attract that.
Yeah, very much so. So another tip I would say, kind of, we already talked about not having to feel like you have all the answers, because I think that's big. And then years ago, I heard Midge Rendell, who is a federal judge. She was a federal judge, and she happened to be the wife of the governor, Ed Rendell. But, that's the less important feature about her. She spoke at a luncheon, and I love what she talked about. I think she has five kids, and she was a judge, and all these other things she had done. And she said, it's not that you can't have it all. You can have it all, just not all at the same time. So I like that, too, kind of thinking of your life in chapters. I have, for many years, thought, I could have grown my business faster, but my kids are at home now. So I want to be able to be there after school when they're struggling with math homework, or when all of a sudden they feel like telling me about that cute girl in science class that I wouldn't have heard about if I wasn't there. And my daughter goes to college in September, so then I'll have more time and more kind of space, maybe, I assume, to devote to things. So, kind of these different chapters, and that's okay. Kind of give yourself permission to not be perfect, whatever perfect means, all the time.
Wow. I liked what she said. I'm already thinking, you can have it all, but not all at the same time. That's very true. Just give up something for a short period, just work at it, and then go for it. I know you all do it already, but still. Those were great tips, Stephanie. So what I think is, right, replay this and then learn a little bit more about what all we can do to be entrepreneurs and be your authentic self. It's not about just being women and so we should just exclude men, not like that, Team, that's what I want to get across, okay? Be a team, and because I came across a lot of women mompreneurs, I'm able to introduce them. Pretty soon I will be getting the men entrepreneurs also, to get their input in, okay? So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and I hope we both added value to your the few minutes of time that you put in there. If there is any help that you can do in the you need in the financial world, input, whatever, right? You can reach out to Stephanie, and if there is anything I can do to help you guys, also just feel free to reach out to us, and we will be able to guide you. Okay, so we will. Anything else you want to add, Stephanie?
I don't think so. We were going to show my one little piece of artwork, if we could.
The one that is behind this was drawn by Stephanie's daughter, right?
Yep.
Look at that.
Yep.
Nice, right? And then tell us more about...
So this one over here, that kind of in brown, it came from a book by Jonathan Fields about uncertainty. And the quote, so
are you able
it's
to read it?
Yeah, so the quote is, "If only we'd learned to harness and ride rather than hunt and kill the butterflies that live in the gut of every person who strives to create something extraordinary from nothing." So it's a woman, and she's got this beat up kind of hang glider, but the butterflies are pulling her. And it's, it's taped together, and her shoes falling off and her pants are ripped, but she's smiling and she's doing it. So I like that.
I will take a picture of this also and put it. I'm not sure if it is showing properly, so it's a beautiful art. And we also have I think, is it showing reverse? I think so, right?
Oh, it's reversed. Yeah,
It
this
says
says My Story, My Ending, and
yeah.
it's from Brene Brown. And I just like that idea, especially for women, right? Your life is your story, so create your own ending. You can, whatever's happened before, focus on what you want to do from here on out.
Yeah, see, we didn't know how to do the FB Live. I didn't even realize it's showing reverse.
Backwards.
So backwards, yeah. So anyway, we can do it, okay? So see you all in the next interview. That would be, I'll announce the next interview soon, okay? See you all. Bye.
Bye.